anything about politics. This is the show where you can ask me anything that you like about politics, and I will do my best to give you a great answer. I know that politics can be really intimidating when you're first trying to learn about it. I know it can feel like trying to learn a new language. So, this is the show where you can ask all your questions about politics, and nobody's going to judge you or roast you or make fun of you or anything like that. There's a lot of misinformation and propaganda out there bouncing around willy nilly. So, this is the show where you can ask your questions and we can have a better idea of what's accurate information, and maybe we can start living in a shared reality again. What a benefit that would be, don't you think? And everybody is welcome here, whether you are a Republican, a Democrat, something in the middle, something on the outskirts. 312MQ says early question mark. Yes, I'm doing my show an hour early today because I'm doing the God podcast at 11 a.m. today in 1 hour. So, all right, but everybody else, welcome. Any questions about politics, just throw them in the chat and we will get to answering them. Everybody is welcome here, whether you are a Republican, a Democrat, something in the middle, something on the outskirts. This is not a fighty show. This is not a debate show. I know there's a lot of very popular shows out there that just feature Democrats and Republicans yelling at each other and calling each other names. That is not what this show is. This is just engaging on the substance and trying to have a better shared reality, a better idea of what's actually going on in the country and our government. What's up, V? Good to see you again. So let's all chat about it. Let's make sure that we're on the same page. Let's make sure that we have a game plan for going forward to fix all the shit that's going wrong out there. How can we fix the things that are going wrong if we can't even agree on what actually is happening? So yeah, no, throw your questions in the chat, and we will get to answering those questions for you, simple or complicated, left or right. Some funny guy on TikTok says, should we put sanctions on Israel? I think that we should, but there's a lot that we need to do before that. Some funny guy on TikTok. Like, I think, the Democratic Party has been voting against sending more money and weapons to Israel. They're in the minority, so the Trump administration keeps on sending more money and weapons to Israel. I think that step one should be not doing that anymore. And, I think the Democrats have the right idea there. Skittles Popper says, thoughts on slavery? I'm against it. 312MQ says, is Trump ending the war or not? Keeps flip flopping. I have no fucking idea. And I think that's one of many reasons why this is a stupid fucking war. V says, what's your timeline on the Iran conflict war operation, depending on who you ask in the administration? Depending on who you ask in the administration, the war is over and just getting started at the same time. This is Schrodinger's war with Iran. Miles says, did Russia and China side with Iran? I saw reporting that Russia is giving Iran intelligence. I don't remember seeing anything about any substantive assistance that China is giving to Iran, but it's clear that America has an adversarial relationship with all three of those countries. So any country that has an adversarial relationship with America is going to be supporting Iran in one way or the other. The same way that North Korea was sending soldiers to Russia, it's possible that they'll send soldiers to Iran should Iran need any additional fighters on the ground. Applausivi says, are you ready for Iran? I don't know what that means. Applausivi. Just a TikTok user says, opinion on environmentalism, asking as an anti-environmentalist. I guess I'm pro-environmentalism, and I guess I find it strange that you would describe yourself as an anti-environmentalist when we need the environment to live. Miles, already did that one. Excellent questions so far, everybody. Welcome to Ask Me Anything About Politics. My name is Jared. I'm here to answer all your questions about politics, regardless of if they are simple or complicated, regardless of if you are left-wing or right-wing. It is just good faith engagement on the substance here. Everybody is welcome, whether you are a Republican, a Democrat, something in the middle, something on the outskirts. There's no judgments here. There's no roasting. There's no debating. There's no bullying. There's no harassing. It is just engaging on the substance so that we can all have a better understanding of what is going on in our government and in our world. NRC says, what do you think is an appropriate percent of national budget for NASA? Oh, I got no idea. I mean, there are so many knock-on benefits to funding NASA. Like, so much of that technology that goes into explorer space ends up being really useful for here on planet Earth. I'm pretty confident that I wouldn't be able to do this live stream. I'm pretty sure that there's at least one or two pieces of essential technology that were developed by NASA in my various setup here, or other satellite technologies, shit like that. So yeah, I don't know what the percentage is now, if I'm being honest, NRC. But I definitely know that there are places that we can take money and give it to NASA if necessary. Uplasivi says, "Are you Jewy by any chance?" Can you? I need you to turn down the anti-Semitism meter. It's like you haven't really hit officially anti-Semitic yet, Apple Salvivi, but you're really edging towards it. My dad was Jewish. My mom wasn't. I don't celebrate any organized religion. Just a TikTok user says, strawman anti-environmentalism is the ideology of trying to modify the environment to the best. Just a TikTok user. You don't need to call me out for strawmanning, because I wasn't trying to strawman you. You called yourself an anti-environmentalist. That is what I assumed your position was. So this is not a debate, just a TikToker. This is just a conversation. You don't need to start calling out all of the cognitive debate tactics or anything, especially when I'm literally just here in good faith, not knowing what you mean by being an anti-environmentalist. Alrighty. To the best human use, not to literally destroy it. I guess that is not like any definition of environmentalist or anti-environmentalist that I've ever heard. So I find that position to be really sus. Like you're trying to redefine what those terms mean in a way that makes it seem like cutting regulations for companies that pollute the environment is not a big deal. We're just, we're not destroying the environment. We're modifying the environment to be the best for human use. And if that means putting a bunch of cancer-causing chemicals into our air and water, then that's us modifying the earth. So there we go. What's up, John Abbott's? What's up, Tumba Ecuadorian? Always changing your screen names there. Yeah, I have to start an hour early today because I'm doing the God Pod at 11 a.m. Truth says open borders was what got Trump elected. I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting that you would say that because the borders were never opened under the Biden administration. And so, it's like half true what you're saying in the sense that lies got Trump elected, All right, somebody whose name I can't read says, do you support Croatia? I support every country. I don't support every government, but I support every country. NRC says NASA is less than 0.5% of the budget, 30x less than the military. Well, NRC, I would love to fucking flip those, man. Apple Civivi says, because I have my best friend with the same second name. All right, well, again, tone it down, my guy. Fletch Lives Again says, do you think other world leaders are afraid of getting removed by Trump if they don't go along with him? I mean, I think that's definitely an issue where what Trump is trying to do is saying that we will kidnap you and we will murder you if you do not play ball with us. It's not a great way to run an international coalition of superpowers. So, yeah, all you're basically saying there is you're incentivizing countries to have nuclear weapons so that we do not feel as though there are zero consequences for us popping into your country and getting rid of your leaders, Truth says maps in cash given in Panama, so it was planned by a globalist. That's some conspiracy theory shit, so you're out of here. Joe Padilla says, how can any country get stuff into Iran? Wouldn't we block it? I don't know how all-encompassing and unperforated our blocks going into Iran are. Like, things are coming in and out of the country that we do not have, that we don't have the ability to block. So yeah, I'm curious myself how that looks. And if I'm being real, like, we've got a very exceptional military. We do not have exceptional military leadership, so I can 100% imagine this being chalking this up to incompetence on the part of the Republican Party. Wise Guy says, how can Iran develop weapons if we constantly attack them? So what Iran has gotten really good at is burying their facilities really deep into the earth so that it would make it really hard for us to eliminate their nuclear program and weapons development and shit like that. All right, Greasy says, our military is like a 5-star restaurant, but I have a McDonald's manager. That is accurate. Balzac says, Uncle, who was the last decent president? I would give it to Biden, give it to Obama. Paul Walker says, I'm a center-left liberal Democrat like Clinton. What do you think of my ideology? I don't agree with you, Paul Walker, but I support your right to have that opinion, Paul Walker, and I'm glad that you're part of the Democratic coalition. I'm pretty sure you asked this question on another live, which makes me think that you actually don't really care about the answer. Joe Padilla says, why do we care if Iran has a nuclear weapon? If Iran, any country that has a nuclear weapon, is a greater threat to us and the world at large. If you have a nuclear weapon, then you can do so much damage in such a little amount of time that we then have to second guess how much of how confident we are in violating your own sovereignty. There's a reason why, the Ayatollah was just assassinated, but Kim Jong-un is doing great. Let's see here. Wise Guy says, if that's the case, what's stopping them from making weapons? I think they're at 60% enrichment. Nothing is stopping them from making weapons. Right now they're fighting a war with America and Israel, so obviously they have to kind of like divert some of their resources. But I believe that the greater population and the government of Iran is doubling down on their efforts because they believe that getting a nuclear weapon will protect them from these exact kind of incursions and bombing raids. The Real Slim Shady says, transgender rights, question mark? I'm for them. Ecuadorian says, I was up till 4 a.m. yesterday. Oh, that's not really healthy. He also says, if Democrats win the midterms, what's the long-term plan? How do we vote out the Republicans? What if some of them refuse to leave? Politicians do not get to just decide to not leave office if they have been voted out. That's number one. Number two is, I believe if Democrats win the midterms, and depending by how many seats this strategy can change, the issue is that there's not a lot that can be done. It's really just about stopping worse things from happening. And that's valuable, obviously. Then we just have 2 years until we can get a new president and potentially get even more Democrats into the government. So yeah, more specifically than that, Ecuadorian, I do not believe that I can help you. All right, Balzac says, what should the USA do with Ukraine, Russia, in your opinion? I think what we were doing during the Biden administration of supporting Ukraine and isolating Russia from, the global order, I think that was probably the best strategy. And we were seeing, little bits of progress here and there. We were seeing the decimation, or at least the weakening of the Russian economy and military. So yeah, what the long-term strategy was, that's a tougher question, because a lot of experts acknowledge that if we want this war to end, Ukraine's going to have to give up some territory. But, we really can't trust Putin to abide by any peace strategy. The best thing that we can do, I think, is, support Ukraine and strengthen NATO. Joe Padilla says, which countries have nuclear weapons? I don't have that off the top of my head, but I believe that there's like 9 countries that have nuclear weapons. And America doesn't invade any of them. Isn't that interesting? Period says, who do you think is most likely to win the nomination for the Democrats in 2028? Oh, I have no idea, and nobody really does. Political predictions are completely useless. I don't really truck with them. Wise Guy says, is it because there are more Republicans in office so he doesn't get opposed? Yes, that is exactly what is going on there, Wise Guy. There are all these different mechanisms by which Congress should be a check on the White House, and the Republican Party is fucking asleep at the wheel. They are not doing any of their fucking due diligence. They are not doing any of their oversight because they're either scared of Trump or they're down with the wildly illegal and unconstitutional things that he's doing. Joe Padilla and Muzz King, thank you so much for helping me reach my first gift goal of the day. All right. D. Smith says they bought in. I don't know what that means. Nixie says, is Netanyahu still alive? I believe he is. I have not seen any reporting to suggest otherwise. Odinson, great to see you again. Z Garde, thank you. She's doing great. Russia's looting 40K soldiers a month. ATM, more than they can recruit. Yeah, I mean, that's very valuable for America's, national security, is the fact that Russia is losing so many soldiers every month and can't replace them. Shork says, why do random Democrats in Congress cave to Trump? It's difficult. It's really difficult to be an elected Democrat. There is a massive propaganda machine that is poised to either make shit up about you or misinterpret real things that you have done in order to lose you your election or your re-election or your primary. There are a bunch of right-wing organizations like Heritage or Federalist or AIPAC that are willing to donate millions of dollars to getting you to lose your election. You are basically getting it from everywhere. There are people out there who are going to say you're too far to the left. There are people out there who are going to say you're too far to the right. And so depending on where you are an elected Democrat, you just have, it is coming at you from every direction. And, the lobbyists are all going to be telling you that there's a perfect communication strategy to get past all this. Really, I don't think there is any getting past this, except for the fact that us individuals need to help spread the word. The reason why Democrats often get skittish about things like this is because the billionaire class has been very effective at getting them to lose their elections. And so they have been taught through experience, like, these are the things that will get me an extra $5 million towards my primary opponent. Or I can, do a little wiggle here, do a little cave there, and potentially, live to fight another day. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that's the system that we're living in right now. And if people want the Democratic Party to be more, quote unquote, ballsy to get more things done, then people need to vote for them. People need to show them that when they do good things, they were rewarded with getting reelected. The Biden administration passed the largest investment in renewable energy in world history. And we rewarded the Democratic Party by voting them all out of office. Biden was the first president to walk the picket line with a union. And we rewarded Democrats for being so pro-union with voting them all out of office. The Democratic Party lowered Medicare medical costs, healthcare costs. They were breaking up monopolies. They were siding with the unions. And how did we reward the Democratic Party for that? We elected a whole bunch of Republicans instead. Paul Walker says, what's your exact political ideology? I'm a progressive Democrat. Blanca Falcon says, good morning. Wife's doing great. A little less than 2 months away. Balzac says, if Biden wasn't super dementia, he could have gotten a second term. I mean, he was too old. He was way too old. And I think that it is a massive indictment of his inner circle, including his wife, that he was talked into running for a second term. That was a fucking massive problem. Wise Guy says, what would you change in the system to make it so it doesn't get exploited like this again? Let's see here. We gotta undo Citizens United. We need to institute campaign finance regulations and make sure that the agencies that regulate that actually have some teeth. We need to rebalance the Senate. We need to get rid of partisan gerrymandering. We need to get rid of the Electoral College. Let's see here. We need to institute some regulations with teeth against hyper partisan media organizations like Fox News or Breitbart or the Daily Wire and shit like that. Regulating social media companies would be a good thing. Expanding the Supreme Court. There's a whole bunch of things that I think we should be doing. Let's see here. John Abbott says, nations with nukes: Russia, USA, China, France, UK, Pakistan, India, Israel, and North Korea. JP writes, Kat Abuguzalia, running in Illinois, said AIPAC bought a 6-figure ad campaign against her. Seems to happen. Yeah, to anybody out there who says that taking or not taking AIPAC money is an easy choice, we just have a fucking excellent example here. Kat Abuguzalia, running in Illinois, is now facing a 6-figure ad campaign against her funded by AIPAC. All right, Nafi says, opinion on Hungarian elections. I'm anti-Orban. I don't know much more about Hungary than that. BB Fan says, wouldn't you also include TPUSA as an anti-democratic group? Yeah, but I don't know if they're technically a news organization. But yeah, like they're a propaganda channel. They are an avenue by which the billionaire class is able to spread their bullshit around. 312 says Iran claims to have U.S. prisoners and claims to have taken out more casualties. Do you think it's true? Very, very difficult to answer, 312MQ, because both our government and the government of Iran are unreliable sources. So I have no fucking idea. Like, is Iran more trustworthy than the Trump administration? I got no fucking clue, man. I got no fucking clue. Okay, let's see here. Balzac says thoughts on religion. Everybody should have the right and the freedom to celebrate any religion that they like. What's up? The Shay Show. Bud27 says, is there any government that is trustworthy? I mean, governments are more or less trustworthy. I don't know if any government is 100% trustworthy. I think that the Biden and Obama administrations were more trustworthy than the Trump administrations. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Super Mario says, do you know if ICE to collect 50K must fight in the Middle East by the contract? I have not seen any reporting that ICE agents have to now go join the military if they're going to get their $50,000 bonus. I think the bonus was actually tied to like arresting 1,000 people a day or something like that. Joe Padilla and Muzz King, thank you so much for helping me reach my second gift goal of the day. Right. Balzac says, thoughts on pew pews. I think we need more common sense gun control legislation. There are a lot of Republicans who agree with that. It is just the NRA and elected Republicans that are keeping that from happening because they believe that it is more politically valuable for them for people to die of gun violence and not institute any kind of regulations on gun control or gun ownership. I appreciate you, Super Mario. Bit Nevo says, what do you say to progressives who constantly throw leftists under the bus instead of unifying? I mean, everybody, whether you are a progressive or a centrist or a leftist or a liberal or a MAGA Republican or a neocon or whatever, everybody needs to recognize that the voters are not the problem. The problem is the billionaire class and the right-wing politicians who are working with the billionaire class. End of story. And so we all need to come together and vote the Republican Party out of existence because they are the ones doing the bidding of the billionaire class. And if there are Democrats that still end up doing the bidding of the billionaire class, once we get rid of all the Republicans, then we get rid of those Democrats and we give them better Democrats. Because the Republican Party is never going to be a check on the billionaire class. Full stop. End of sentence. And so if you don't like the Democratic Party, then primary them. But letting Republicans win elections is unforgivable, in my opinion. Goblin says, we got to ditch Schumer and Jeffries. I agree. I do not think that they are good leadership. Eliminate all Foyd says, are you right or left? I am left. Brooklyn says, the voters are the problem. No, they're not. Brooklyn says specifically white voters. Yeah, Brooklyn, I think that you can disagree with how people are using their voting power, but there's a lot of different reasons why people vote for the people that they vote for. And getting into arguments with other voters is not productive. Instead, why don't we do that thing where it's like, hey, I'm a regular-ass person, you're a regular-ass person, why are you voting for that person? Because they're doing X, Y, and Z. I'll tell you why I'm voting for this person. They're doing X, Y, and Z. And maybe we can find some common ground. Maybe we can build a shared reality. You know, people on the right are believing things that are wildly inaccurate because we are not talking to them, because we are not communicating with them. They're getting all their news off of Fox and Facebook and shit like that, and we cannot counter that by making our own videos. You know, the billionaire class is too powerful. But the thing that we have that they don't is numbers of people that can go out there and actually discuss this shit with people in real life. John Abbott says, I think Iran is more trustworthy than the Trump administration, but that's not a positive statement about Iran. It's an indictment of the Trump administration. No arguments here, John Abbott. Period says, are you the guy from the harmonica meme? I have not seen that meme. I think that if I was memeified, somebody would have told me. Harris says, is communism okay? Oh, that's okay. You don't have to apologize for misspellings, Harris. It depends on how you define communism. Like, I don't think that, we should do like the maximalist version of communism where like nobody owns anything and the government owns everything and we are the government and so we technically own everything and there's no such thing as private corporations or private ownership. And I think that might be a little bit drastic. Maybe we could start with just giving workers more power. Maybe we could start by incentivizing companies to be employee owned. Maybe we can start by passing laws that says the CEOs are not allowed to be paid more than 50 times what the lowest paid employee is paid. Right now it's like 500 times. Yeah, making billionaires illegal, having workers, the lowest paid workers need to have representation on the board of directors, shit like that. That's all essentially communist. Ryan says, bro, the Dems don't have a leader, nor do they have a direction. It's all just anti-Trump. That's not true. Ryan, would you like me to tell you what the Democratic direction is? I'd be happy to. I don't really think you give a shit, though. I think you're just here to spread misinformation. Balzac says, market economy, but with considerably more restrictions. Yeah, generally speaking. We see mixed models work in, Norway and Sweden and Switzerland and Europe generally, yeah. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. All right. Oliver Mito says he broke news. What do you mean by that? Who broke what news? Balzac says, I was in a live yesterday and it was like hundreds of people were supporting Trump without reason. Yeah, you can't really, what do you call it? You can't really trust the internet, like numbers of people who are agreeing with somebody on the internet are not indicative of actual real world numbers. We know that social media has been manipulated and weaponized in the past. It is still being manipulated and weaponized. So yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about that. Look for the real people and focus on that. Ryan says, give one candidate that could be J.D. Vance, Gavin Newsom. Easy peasy. And yes, I'd love to hear the Democrats' direction. Sure, here are some policy ideas that the Democrats have. Ryan, let's see here. Where's my list? Okay. All right, end partisan gerrymandering. Break up monopolies, campaign finance regulations so that billionaires can't purchase politicians, hire people to transition our energy grid to renewable, gun control so that we don't have so much gun violence in America, return independence and oversight to the government where the Trump administration got rid of it, eliminate the presidential pardon, abolish or reform ICE, raise taxes on the rich, Medicare for all, or make healthcare cheaper and more accessible for people. No more money or weapons for war criminals like Netanyahu, and subsidies for fossil fuels. Ranked choice voting so that more people can be involved in our politics. There's just a couple, Ryan. Let me know what you think about those. Balzac says cut military spending. That would be great also, but there are going to be a bunch of Democrats who will be intimidated into believing that voting against military funding will get people to accuse them of not supporting the troops. So we do need to be a little savvy about that. All right, Chili Willie and Musking, thank you so much for helping me reach my third gift goal of the day. And you know what that means? It means it's finger hearts o'clock, the best time of every day. Alrighty, what do we got here? Alex Turner says, do we need UBI? I believe so. I believe it's long past time that we've needed UBI. David Franklin says, how quickly do you think the GOP will denounce Trump in 2028? If Trump is on a ventilator but still able to send out truth socials, he will still have value to the Republican Party leadership. And so they are not going to denounce until it is politically viable for them to denounce. And this is part of the reason why I think the Republican Party should be voted out of existence. Because if you're not actually giving a shit about the well-being of the country, you're just worried about your own, political future and maintaining power and corruption, then you got to go. Chili Willie, Joe Padilla, and Muzzking, thank you so much for helping me reach my first finger hearts goal of the day. All right, Be Happy says, what do you think about the Save America Act? I believe that the Save America Act is the massive voter suppression bill that the Republican Party is trying to pass, so I'm against it. Eliminates all Floyd says opinion on Mossad and the IDF. I don't think that they are doing good work. But that could just be leadership. That could just be the Netanyahu government's leadership. But yeah, they're guilty of war crimes on G's side. Alex Turner says, "Who's the next president, Newsom or Vance?" I mean, I hope neither, but I would take Newsom over Vance any day of the week. Ryan says, "So you think the way California is run politically is good since you support Newsom?" I think that Newsom's done some good things and some bad things, Ryan. Low Dairy says 20 million MAGA with no teeth, lost Obamacare, but the support in the war. I think I know what you're talking about, Low Dairy, and I think I agree with that. Jeannie says, what are your chances of a draft in your opinion? I think it's pretty low, but not impossible. Balzac says, at least restructure military so that we aren't taken advantage of by huge corporate contracts. Completely agree with that. Balzac. Ryan already answered that one. Ryan says, bro, you can actually believe that. There's just no way. Would you like me to read you a list of good things that Gavin Newsom has done, Ryan? I'd be happy to. Also, I would much rather live in California than in places like Alabama, where education and healthcare outcomes are way worse, and violent crime is way higher in red states than it is in blue states, Ryan. Red states would not be able to fund their governments without blue states giving them some of their federal tax revenue, Ryan. So there you go. Texas says, ask you, LOL. Yeah, that's what it is. Alex Turner says, doesn't Newsom look like a 90s movie president? Will it help him win? Potentially. But Texas says, bro, shut the fuck up. Or, better idea, why don't I just block you? And then I don't have somebody being mean to me in my live stream when I'm just trying to engage with people on the substance. Ryan says, like the $1 billion that went to the homeless while the homeless just continued to get worse. Ryan, you're in question jail. If you don't ask a question going forward, you're out of here. Shork says, I feel like Democrats are rapidly becoming anti-Israel. Do you agree? They're not becoming anti-Israel. They're becoming the party who is willing to stand up to Netanyahu and the government of Israel and AIPAC. But they are not anti the citizens of Israel, and they are not anti-Semitic. Eliminate Floyd says, to be honest, America is faking democracy. I mean, we still have democracy. It's not perfect. There's a lot of voter suppression and gerrymandering and shit like that. But Democrats have been sweeping all these special elections, which is proof that the electoral systems have not been fully captured by Trump and the Republican Party. JD says, what's your political ideology? Not left or right, but ideologically. I don't know what you mean by that, JD, because if you ask me what my political ideology is, I would tell you that I'm a progressive Democrat. But if you need more specific than that, I have a whole bunch of policy proposals that I could suggest to you. Mason Wolfgang Willie says, pro-Iran, you mean, LOL. No. No, Mason, no. That's not that's not what I said or what I meant. I don't even know which comment you're referring to. It's the Rocketeer says, who is Jerry and why is he mandering all over the place? Because of billionaires. It's the Rocketeer. You know that. Balzac says, is the Save America Act talking about requiring ID? That is just one of many parts of the Save America Act. Additionally, you would need like your birth certificate and your passport whenever you wanted to register to vote. You would have to have the same last name on all of them, which would disenfranchise a lot of women from being able to vote. Mason Wolfgang Whaley says, libs. Don't know what that means. East meets Westy Bestie. Great to see you again. JD says, yeah, some policy proposals of yours would be nice. Sure. I'll give that to you in just a second. Stephen Peterson says, do you think Trump will actually go after Cuba when he's defeated Iran? First of all, I don't think there's any defeating Iran the same way that we didn't defeat Vietnam, Iraq, or Afghanistan. I don't even think that we need to wrap up things with Iran before Trump and Lindsey Graham start going after Cuba. I think they're thirsty for more war and more fucking wasting our taxpayer dollars and American lives and Cuban and Iranian lives for what? For no fucking good reason that we have been explained. HE67 says, what's your opinion on the best ideology, national distributism? I don't know what that means. Purple Face J says, is Epstein still alive? I doubt it. I've seen some videos that have been suggesting that it's possible that he is. I'm not saying that he's not. I'm just saying I think it's unlikely. Chili Willie, East Meets Westy, Joe Padilla, and Muzz King, thank you so much for helping me reach my second Finger Hearts goal of the day. We are really cooking today, everybody. I keep on worrying that we're running out of time because I got to dip at a certain point to go do this podcast. But I'm fucking, what do you call it? I'm cooking. All right, so these are my policies for whoever was asking. End gerrymandering, add seats to the House, rebalance the Senate, add seats to the Supreme Court, break up monopolies, campaign finance regulations so that we don't have billionaires buying our politicians, a climate corps, hiring people to transition our grid to renewable energy, gun control so that we don't have so much gun violence in America, return independence and oversights to the government, where the Trump administration fired a bunch of inspectors general. We should reinstate them, eliminate the presidential pardon, abolish ICE, raise taxes on the rich, Medicare for all, no more money or weapons for war criminals, and fossil fuel subsidies, ranked choice voting. There's just a couple for you. Thank you, Joe Padilla. Mason Wolfgang says Trump is the liberator of freedom. Hope he succeeds. Well, you're out of here. See you later, buddy. That's not a question. Diego Vargas says a country that spends $1 trillion on defense and has bases all over can't depend on its voters. I'm not really sure what you mean by that, Diego Vargas. JD says, I was the one who asked, by the way. I'd say I agree overall as a Dem socialist. Yeah, I think there's not a lot of daylight between somebody that describes themselves as a democratic socialist and someone that describes themselves as a progressive Democrat. Mickle the Pickle says, was Aaron justified? I don't know who Aaron is. BB Fan says, isn't it requiring birth certificate or U.S. passport? I believe that is part of it. Gabe says, are you dead ass? We wiped out their Navy and Air Force, so do your research, bud. Are you talking about Iran? Because Iran is still very much in existence, Gabe. Jeannie says, I'm seriously annoyed when people thinking the SAVE Act is just requiring an ID to vote. I understand that frustration, Jeannie. I hope that you are able to talk to them in person about why the SAVE Act is bad. Okay, It's the Rocketeer says, Aaron Jagar from Attack on Titan. I really liked Attack on Titan, but I had to stop watching it because my wife told me that the entire thing is like high-grade anti-Semitic. So it's like, all right, well, not going to support this art anymore. Okay, let's see here. 312MQ says, what do you think of the UK and France getting involved in Iran? So I haven't heard any reporting about that. I believe you if the UK and France are saying that they're going to support America in this. I think it's dumb. I think it's counterproductive that they would. I think it is, yeah. Thumbs down on that, but I need to read more into it. Mio says, what president United States did America? Donald Trump is the president of the United States. Joel M says, right wing. No, I am not. Are you, Joel? Okay, JP says, which podcast are you doing? I'm doing the God podcast. I don't know too much about it, but my buddy / boss, Steve Hofstetter, recommended me for it, and it seems pretty cool. Blues Black was on there. I like to be in that world. Seems pretty cool to me. Let's see here. John Abbott says the intent of the presidential pardon is to allow for a remedy when application of the law creates injustice instead of serving justice. It has only become a problem because of it is being misused. If it were to be eliminated, how would you suggest we deal with the kind of injustice it was intended to be a solution for? John Abbott, that's a really good question. I would say two things about that. Number one, we at the very least need the kind of regulations so that it cannot be abused in the way that it has been abused in the past. And, Donald Trump is just the most egregious version of abusing the pardon power. But, I'm sure you could find me some Clinton, abuses of the pardon power. I don't know of any off the top of my head, but there might be one in the Obama administration. There's definitely a handful in the Biden administration. But yeah, if we didn't have the presidential, I don't believe that the presidential pardon has pardoned enough people to justify its existence, pardoned enough people justly to justify its existence. If we didn't have the presidential pardon, let's fix the justice system so that there isn't, the desire for this sort of like, get out of jail card / ejector seats, Yeah, it seems like a really drastic choice instead of just fixing the problem, that's my 2 cents there. AJ says, what's up with BlackRock halting transactions? Oh, I've got no fucking idea what's going on with that. I think generally speaking, if private equity or, military contractors are tapping the brakes right now, I think it's because they don't really know what the future is going to look like. Mio says, why Britain don't pay reparation for America for war crimes? I don't know what you're referring to. Mio. AJ did that one already. Shork says, do you think Biden was wrong for pardoning his son? I do think that he was wrong, but I understand. Like, it makes sense. The Republican Party has been unfairly targeting Hunter Biden for a long time. Like Hunter Biden, not a great guy, but the justice system can take care of Hunter Biden. And it was. But then the Republican Party hired a special counsel so they could fuck him even harder and turn him into some sort of like political cudgel for the Democratic Party. It makes sense. You got a kid who is struggling with addiction issues, and then all of a sudden the fucking $1 trillion right-wing propaganda machine is talking about that person nonstop. Like, that probably doesn't help, Hunter's mental health or struggles with sobriety. Diego Vargas says private firms are buying up entire neighborhoods in some places, jacking up prices. I believe that is accurate. Goes with the Gozerian. Great to see you again. Says, honestly, we are most likely cooked. The petrodollar is sunk, and both parties' 30 years of meh sunk us. I disagree with both parties' 30 years of meh. The Democratic Party did incredible work over the past 50 years to try to help. And it is just that the Republican Party was way better at hurting than the Democrats were at helping. And that makes sense because it is easier to not do things and break things than it is to do things and fix things. AJ says, could you explain the divide and conquer concept used between parties and why it's so effective? Sure. If you can separate your opposition into a bunch of little groups and get them fighting amongst themselves and disagreeing about the way to work together to defeat you, then you have a smaller, instead of one big enemy, you got a bunch of smaller enemies that you can deal with handily. It's like in the kung fu movies when there's like one guy in the center and the bad guys decide to attack him one at a time. That's what divide and conquer is. Even if they could have overpowered him if they had all just attacked at the same time. Mio says, isn't Democrats propaganda for Trump so he wins? No, Mio, inaccurate. Balzac says, BlackRock stopped investors from withdrawing any more than 5% of their money to keep the market stable. That's probably doing the bidding of the Trump administration. Like, when people take their money out of the market, it crashes the market, and Trump doesn't like that. But people want to take their money out of the market because the market's crashing because of the stupid fucking war. Bala says, politics sucks. It only sucks because shitty people do it. But if we get better people to do it, then it'll be really good. Diego Vargas says, why do they say Democrats are pro-clean energy, but oil production peaked during the Biden administration? So there's a couple of things for that. Number one, JP says, the God podcast. Yes, that is accurate. East meets Westy. What is that comment in reference to? The 7% versus 5%. So there are a couple of things about that. Number one is the Democratic Party gets treated and critiqued way harsher than the Republican Party. So if we are trying to transition to green energy, there cannot be 1 second of unavailable electricity, or everybody's going to go, this is because of solar panels and wind sucking. So it was incumbent upon the Democratic Party to make sure that we were able to meet all of our energy needs. That's number one. Number two is we saw an explosion in energy needs during the Biden administration because of AI and cryptocurrency. And number three is, in order to transition us to renewable energy, we need to use fossil fuels to do things like transport, solar cells and, drive employees to their jobs and stuff like that. So it is always the case. It's always been the case that as we are transitioning to renewable energy, we need to recognize that we will be making the problem a little bit worse at the onset. Joe Padilla, East meets Westy, Chili Willy, thank you so much for helping me reach my final finger hearts goal of the day. That means we're up to high bears. we could get a monologue today, guys, depending on how this gifting goes. Yes, but the benefit of that, the benefit of spending that fossil fuel now is that we won't have to spend 10 times that fossil fuel in the future. Sent says politics is a combination of, I have no idea. East meets West says, why question me so sus? The liquidity crisis. Ooh, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know anything about that. I just want to know what that comment meant, East meets Westy. British Egypt ally says, is socialism a good ideology? I think it depends on how you define socialism. Like, I don't really believe in a extremist version of socialism where there's no such thing as private industry because everything is, you only get soda from America Soda Company and you only get computers from America Computer Company and stuff like that. But I do think that we should have things like socialized medicine because I don't think that medicine works in the free market, capitalist ideology. Jacob Vargas says, is the Keystone XL pipeline being built? Biden canceled the project, but didn't Trump restart it? I do not know what the up to the minute of there is. Jacob Vargas, if you send me a DM, I promise I will look into it. Clara Koenig says, now what? The army parents told Trump to finish the job. Your he doesn't care narrative collapse. I don't know what you mean by that, Clara Koenig, but yeah, he definitely doesn't care about the military. He does not care about American citizens. He doesn't care about people in blue states, red states, or purple states. If it helps him, he will do it. If he believes that it will help him, he will do it. Balzac says, do you ever get tired of talking about politics? I feel like sometimes it's so draining. I 100% do, Balzac, and that is why I regularly engage in aggressive self-care. Super Mario says that Keystone Pipeline was canceled by the court. I have no idea. I am not up on the Keystone Pipeline, the latest. Flynn says, I'm from the UK and Eric Trump followed me. I don't know who he is. I would recommend blocking him. Balzac did that already. King of Darkness says, are you sockless? I am not going to tell. That sounds like the kind of question you ask somebody when you're trying to jerk off. So I'm definitely not engaging in that. AJ says, what kind of self-care do you engage in? I love movies. I love reading. I love going out to food with my friends and my wife. Sometimes I do a little gardening here in California, did a lot of gardening this past weekend, shit like that. Mio says, are you AI? No, are you? Methinks meow doth protest too much. ITF Clyde says, do you think reform will? I don't know what the end of that question is, but if your question is, do I think reform is bad? The answer is yes. You should run from right-wing parties, especially parties that are aggressively more right-wing than the Tories. Lo says, Nigel Farage is in my hometown. I would go protest, man, because that guy fucking sucks. ITF Clad says, do you think reform will get rid of the illegal immigrants? I do not. If they're anything like the MAGA party, then they will not. They will just start rounding up brown people indiscriminately. It's the Rocketeer says, man, I love gardening. I did a succulent last night with plants from my grandma's old house. Ooh, that's cool. Diego Vargas says, do we need another Great Depression to have another president like FDR? No, I just think we need to do the work, Diego Vargas. We can avoid the worst case scenario if we just do the work, Marty D says, what's your opinion of Bill Maher? I used to think that he was really smart, even if I didn't agree with him 100%. Now I think that he's suffering from old man brain. He is just saying shit that I find so wildly inaccurate and stupid that I'm just go to sleep, Bill Maher. Go enjoy dating women half your age. Just leave the rest of us out of it, Lowe says, my dad is refusing to take me. There are so many racists and it isn't safe in my town, LMAO. What are you talking about, Lowe? Nigel Farage is in my hometown. My dad's refusing to take me. There are so many racists and it isn't safe in my hometown. I'm really sorry to hear that, Lowe. Yeah, the most important thing is staying safe, and so if you do not feel like you can protest safely where you are, then there's other work that you can do. Clara Koenig says, what are you saying? Trump hit 2 countries and the market's still bullish. We love Trump, next Mexico. So all of the things you just said are inaccurate, Clara, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of you. Diego Vargas says, Bill Maher is now supporting the Iran war. What the fuck? He criticizes Bush administration. Now he supports this. Yeah, old man brain. Maybe he went to too many fucking NASCAR rallies and he sucked up too much leaded gasoline air, and now his brain is just fucking deteriorating like crazy. Because yeah, man. Mio, I'm not going to look up Dark Viper AU. If you tell me that I look like him, I believe you, and I just hope that that is a compliment. All right, we are going to start wrapping things up. Everybody, get in your final questions. Goes to the Gazarian says Israel has single payer. We have spent trillions on APAC. 110,000 per second. I don't know what you mean by spending trillions on APAC. Goes to the Gazarian, because APAC is privately funded with American billionaire dollars. Don't know that the government is giving APAC money. We're giving Israel money. Matt, I don't know who those people are. Rugby says, is it true Hillary said she would invade Iran during campaign? No, she did not. She did not. Goes to the Gazarian, yes, we are spending way too much money on war. All right, D says, JP says aggressive self-care sounds like code. Yeah, but not for what you're thinking it is. D says, can you please reiterate the positives of ranked choice voting? Absolutely. So the reason why independent parties can't really get a footing here in America is because we have a winner-take-all system. That means that it's, if you have more than two people running for a specific seat, you have the potential for spoiler candidates and gamesmanship. If you have ranked choice voting, you then eliminate all of those problems, where if there's a candidate that I like, but I'm worried that they're not going to win, then I have to vote for the candidate that I don't like as much, just so that the candidate I hate the most won't win. With ranked choice voting, you can vote for your favorite candidate, then vote for your second favorite candidate, and then vote for nobody else, Alrighty, let's see here. Okay. Matt says it's voting in Denmark. I don't know anything about Denmark's government, so sorry about that. Jago Vargas says, is Israel the 51st state that gets more money than all the states? LOL. I mean, an argument could be made that it's not the 51st state, it's the second White House. All right. Malbec says, is ranked choice a beef grade? No, it is not. All right. We have hit the first high bear goal of the day, and we have minutes left in the live stream. Everybody, Chili Willy, East Meets Westy, Muzz King, Triska, Sociology Doctor, thank you so much for helping me reach my first high bear goal of the day. East Meets Westy, of course I still have love for you. What are you talking about? You were in there, weren't you? Don't I always give you props when I'm doing my sign off? East Meets Westy. Sorry for tomorrow says, dang, my timing was off today. Yeah, it's not your fault. I'm an hour early because I have a podcast to do in like 5 minutes. Malbec says, I could go for ranked choice ribeye. I don't want ranked choice ribeye. I want professional, expert ranked ribeye. I don't want just, the ribeye that we all voted was the best to be qualified as the best. I want people that their job is to rank meat, what do you call it? Anyways. Machiavellopoulos says, do you think George Sorel was based? I don't know who George's Sorel was. Mio says, Rabbi? Question mark? Don't call me a rabbi, please. Sorry for tomorrow says, yeah, democracy doesn't work in every aspect of life. Completely agree with that. All right, everybody. Thank you for being here. If you want to support the show financially, you can, but you don't have to. You can send gifts on TikTok. You can send emotes and bits on Twitch. You can be a super fan on TikTok. You can be a subscriber on Twitch. And if you have Amazon Prime, you can subscribe to my Twitch channel for free. Costs you $0, helps me out a ton. Jeannie says, where can we find you on the podcast? Check out my Substack. We're going to be like simulcasting on my Substack there as well. Let's see here. What else? And you can also join my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. If you have any questions that I was not able to get to on this live stream, do not be shy about reaching out. I am happy to engage when the streaming is not happening. I want to be a resource for you guys. to be more informed and involved in politics. So if there's any way I can do that, let me know. DMs are open. You can email me through my website. You can hit me up on my Discord channel. The Discord is great because there's also recommendations there for books and podcasts and for nonprofit organizations that desperately need your help as we go into the midterms. Dad says, what do you think is going to happen to the DACA people? It does not appear that the Trump administration really gives a shit about the due process of people who are trying to stay in the country, quote unquote, the right way. They are rounding up and illegally detaining and sexually assaulting and at times murdering people indiscriminately. And so if you're DACA, if you're a green card holder, if you're a legal resident, if you're on a pathway to citizenship, or if you're just a citizen that they are mad at, then they will kidnap you, beat the shit out of you, sexually assault you, murder you, whatever the fuck they want. And that is part of the reason why I am out here Monday through Friday, starting around 11:30 a.m. Pacific time, telling people that they need to vote against Republicans because it is that dire, guys. It really is that dire. Nick Spineful Tip says, what do you think about what we're doing in Iran? It's stupid. It is really, really stupid. The wars in Iraq and Afghanistan were better planned by a degree of 1,000. And those were fucking quagmires. Those were disasters. What do you think is going to happen when not even the B team is in there? This is the fucking C or the D team doing a third of the preparation that the W. Bush administration did before Iraq and Afghanistan. Nick's Mindful Tip says, do you think that the Iranians need help? They 100% do. Yeah, but not by America blowing up a girls' school. That is not helping the Iranians. That is for darn sure. East Meets Westy says, don't forget the Amazon Prime account donations. Excellent reminder. Excellent reminder, Eats Meets Westy. Special thank you to all my regular financial contributors. Robert, Shannon, Carmine, Patrick, Melissa, the two Sean's, Dan Blackroyd, Pliff, Triska, Muzz King, It's the Rocketeer, and East Meets Westy. Are you in there too? I feel like I usually see your name on these things, but let me know if I'm missing something. Let's see here. All right, everybody. Oh, you're not on there. All right, yeah. Mindful Tips says, my girlfriend is native to Iran. She moved here when she was 20, and she's happy about what's happening. I guess that she doesn't know any of the citizens, any of the innocent civilians who were murdered. I guess she is unaware of what happens when America does interventionist regime change wars. Nick's Mindful Tips. I think you can be happy that the Ayatollah is gone, but right now the Ayatollah's son, who is even more extreme and now like fucking triple pissed at America, even more so than his dad was. Now he's in charge. You know, I don't think that your girlfriends would like what's going on there, you know. Yeah, Nick, again, you know, I'm sure that there are individual Iranians who are happy about this, but it is going to go poorly. It is currently going poorly. It is going to go poorly. It is an illegal war done stupidly. It is going to go poorly. All right, everybody. I will see you guys tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. Actually, the regular bat time, regular bat channel. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. And have an excellent Tuesday, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye. Goodbye, 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 goodbye. Goodbye.